I hate all of the internet references in Eldest daughter. Do you understand how crazy and parasocial that sounds? The variants are getting a little too much. It's Reputation 2.0, so if this album had folklore production, I think people would like it a lot more. I understand it, but I don't agree with it. Everybody who hates this song is wrong. I think it's funny that the people hating on it would still fight for tickets to the tour. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Nina. If you were new here, welcome, and if you are not new, thanks for coming back. If this is the first video you're seeing from me, welcome. Over here on my channel, I like to talk about Taylor Swift 90% of the time. I also like to play guitar and attend any concert that I can and just live the life of a fangirl, truly. And so today I have been putting off this video because I feel like everyone has had so much to say about this album and I wanted to give it some time before I dive into the opinions that everybody had about this album, because as soon as this album came out, there was an influx of very strong opinions. It felt like there was no in between. You either loved this album or you really didn't like it, and a lot of people were saying this is Taylor Swift's worst album, which is to me an insane take. And I think because of where Taylor Swift is in her career, being so present in the public eye, successful, just coming off of the Eras tour, the biggest tour of all time. Taylor Swift has been leading the music industry for the past forever, truly, but especially in these last few years here, her fame has risen to a level that I have never seen as a fan who has been here for over a decade now. And with that comes a lot of new opinions of newer fans, people who aren't even fans, just people that want to have a take. And also people that just want an excuse to not like Taylor Swift, truly, because I feel like when someone's at the top for too long, people are waiting for a reason to hate them and bring them down. So anyways, it has been 3 weeks since I posted on my Instagram for you guys to submit your unpopular opinions, thoughts, opinions, initial reactions from the album, and I wanted to wait a little bit longer to react to them because I already feel like the public opinion is changing about the album, and this happens every single time. We can trace this phenomenon back all the way to even Speak Now and Red era. When Taylor came out with We Are Never Getting Back Together, the country fans didn't like that she was going pop, and the people who liked her pop music really wanted her to create an entire album of just pop music. And then we had 1989. I heard people saying oh, I miss the old Taylor, I miss the country Taylor. Every subsequent album after that, it's the same discourse, some harsher than others, and I feel like this one has been really harsh. It truly is taking me back to between 1989 and Reputation, because in 1989 era, Taylor was at a similar point in her career that she is now, on a smaller scale obviously, but everybody loved her. It was popular to like Taylor Swift during the 1989 era, and then we had the downfall of 2016, where then it became really cool to hate Taylor Swift.
There's nothing you can do to make them change their mind. They just don't love you anymore.
The people who once loved Taylor's music really did not like Reputation. It was too aggressive for them. She's trying too hard to be edgy. There's always going to be a complaint. And similarly with this album coming off of the success of the Eras tour, everybody had these impossibly high expectations for this album. And although the aesthetics of this album are very sparkly, it is very deeply personal. And you know what else is very glittery but super meaningful? This necklace that I'm wearing, and it has a little heart and my initial on it, and it is from the sponsor of today's video, which is Mint and Lily. So Mint and Lily is a company that makes super meaningful and customizable jewelry pieces. You can add your name, your initial, and even your birthstone, so it's super unique to you. So first of all, I'm wearing this necklace and I really love it because it has a little chain, and then it has a white heart here that looks kind of like a pearl, and then it has another heart that has my initial on it, which I really love. I'm a huge fan of wearing meaningful jewelry. I almost wear exclusively personal jewelry because I am a very simple girly and I don't wear a ton of jewelry, but I love to have meaning when I do. The next piece that I have are these. I'm going to be calling these upgraded friendship bracelets because they are a little bit fancier than your average ones that you made for the Eras tour. So first I have this one, and it is a beautiful gold beaded bracelet, and it has colorful letter beads on it that say Showgirl, which I love so much. And then also I have this one, which is a pearl bracelet that has a TS on it, and so these together are so cute because they're very showgirl. They look a little bit more upscale. You can dress them up with a nicer outfit. I also have the most beautiful opal set, and so I have these earrings right here, and they have a matching ring and a matching bracelet, and I truly didn't know how much I loved opal until this album came out. While I was researching the song Opalite, I came across all of these beautiful pieces of jewelry, and when the light hits it, it's so sparkly. And it's also the October birthstone, so it commemorates the album release, and also if your birthday's in October, that would be also really cute. But like I said, you can personalize a lot of the pieces. That's what I did for the bracelets and for my necklace, and it's a super fast and easy process. The quality is so good, and it's hypoallergenic and gold plated, which is super important to me because I have the most sensitive skin ever, so I love that aspect of it. It's tarnish free, it's waterproof, and so you can swim, you can sleep in them. Also, Mint and Lily guarantees their pieces for life, which is absolutely amazing. With the holidays coming up, this would be the perfect gift for the Swiftie in your life, or even if you want to put it on your Christmas list. Mint and Lily is giving all of my followers a $15 gift card, so if you want to check them out, the link to that will be in the description box down below. Thank you once again to Mint and Lily for sponsoring this video. I appreciate it so much, and I think jewelry is the perfect way to commemorate the life of a showgirl. After 1 month of this album being out, I think I am ready to dive into some of your opinions and react to them and give my opinion. So let's get into it. So first we have No Skips, first album since 1989 that I listened to cover to cover. I truly do believe this album is sonically cohesive. I know we hate to say that word, but in the way that 1989 was a full story, I feel like this album gives me the same feeling, and also it's just a very easy listen. To me, my other favorite cover to cover album is Midnights, because even though not every single song on that album is my favorite song of all time, the experience of listening to Midnights from top to bottom is one that I really enjoy, and the same can be said about this album. It's very easy to listen to, and I think because it's a shorter album in time and also in tracks, that it just flows really nicely. And so when I say an album has no skips, that means I could listen to it all the way through and enjoy that experience rather than like skipping around to certain songs. And for me, I think I'm just like an album person through and through, so I feel like lately I've been listening more so to full albums rather than playlists, and really appreciating the time it takes to put together a track list. And we know that Taylor is very meticulous about the order of the track list and the songs, and so to me, if I'm putting this album on in the car, I'm just gonna play it from top to bottom. And I also feel like when I first listened to this album, there wasn't one specific song that I was like, that's my favorite song right away, or I need to go back and just listen to these couple because these are my favorite songs. I felt like they're all on a very even playing field. I truly can't pick a favorite song from this album because I do feel like they're all there. And so ranking this album is gonna be so difficult for me because I do feel like it's really hard to put some above others, because for me, they just all kind of are good. And so yeah, I feel like this is a really good album to like put on your record player and just have playing while you're doing chores around the house, you know? It's a fun album and shouldn't be getting this much hate. I got a lot of submissions like this of people being like, why is there so much hate? It just doesn't make sense why people care this much to criticize this album, especially people who aren't regular fans of Taylor Swift. Like, it's weird that the general public needs to have an opinion, because when I see that an artist has put out an album that I don't really listen to, maybe I'll give it a listen, but most of the time I just don't listen to artists that I'm not a fan of, if that makes sense. So the fact that people are giving Taylor this much attention, I feel like everybody is curious, and I feel like that just shows you that her career and her impact is so interesting, and her influence, because even if people don't really like her music, they're gonna give the album a listen anyways. And I feel like that is a really strong influence that she has over the general public, because people are curious, you know? But yeah, I saw some girl talking on TikTok, like, all these people are like complaining about Taylor Swift's success and these other artists aren't getting the same amount of appreciation as her and whatever. But it's like, okay, if you don't like Taylor Swift, don't listen to the album. Why were you like one of the first people to listen to the album? Because for me, if I am not fond of a certain artist, I just won't listen to their music, you know? And I don't say anything negative about them because I just don't listen to it. And I feel like that's a lot of the undertone of this album, is this actually romantic, very tongue-in-cheek tone Taylor has to a lot of these songs, is like, everybody has a lot to say about me, even though they could just say nothing. And also, it's like, Taylor has put out fun albums and fun songs that are so unserious. Like, I just don't understand why this is surprising to people, because Taylor has put out songs like Me, You Need to Calm Down, We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. Even Antihero, some of the lyrics in there people really didn't like.
I promise that you'll never find another like me. Hey kids, Vegas is fun.
She does not shy away from a cheesy, fun song. We have seen this so many times. And I really, really don't like how people are discounting her lyricism so quickly. People are turning on a dime, being like, this is some of the worst lyrics she's ever written. Even going so far as to say, Travis is a terrible muse. I liked it better when she wrote songs about Joe. Like, do you understand how crazy and parasocial that sounds? I understand sometimes our fandom can be a little bit parasocial, but like, that's weird. She is so happy she finally met the love of her life. She's engaged to this man who has been nothing but wonderful to her and also to the Taylor Swift fans. He treats her the way she deserves to be treated. And why are we bringing up her ex who made her write songs like You're Losing Me? Like, if you guys wanted another, like, Folklore Evermore read Taylor's version, go listen to those albums. They exist, and you can still listen to all of Taylor Swift's breakup songs, but we will never get a Tortured Poets ever again. And thank God for that. Oh my god. I do feel like people are really quick to dismiss the lyrics in this album, but there is some amazing lyrics. One of my favorites is from Father Figure when she says, I pay the check before it kisses the mahogany grain? Like, that is so good. You hear those lines and you're like, yep, that is Taylor. That is a classic Taylor Swift lyric. I feel like because this album is so upbeat with the production, people have these preconceived expectations about Taylor and her life. They just are ignoring the deeper meaning behind the songs. And also, like, if we think about songs like Blank Space, Look What You Made Me Do, these songs where Taylor is leaning into the character that the media has created for her. I feel like this album is very similar to that, where the level of satire is very high. If you are looking past the surface of a lot of these songs, you know, every song has a little bit of a bite to it, a little bit of a jab, which I love, because even though this is like a love album technically, because obviously she's, you know, found the love of her life, there's a lot more layers than just that to it. It's very fame centered, but in the way of being behind the scenes. It's very glittery and showy on the outside, but if you really like slow down the lyrics, it is so meaningful and so truthful. And someone had said this is like the most Taylor Swift album ever, because there's no question about who is this about and who is this about. It's very much this is just her life, because this whole Showgirl era isn't necessarily about being on stage. It is who Taylor Swift is behind the curtain. And now I think we need to get into some more controversial opinions, because some of you don't like this album and we need to talk about that. Let's see what we got here. Okay, we've got to talk about this. I hate all of the internet references in Eldest Daughter. I feel like so many people have this opinion and I understand it, but I don't agree with it. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of said this in my reaction video when I kind of gave my initial thoughts on every song, but this song I think is the most misunderstood song on the album, because everyone is so caught up in these pop culture references and these internet slang terms and everything. Taylor had said in one of the radio interviews, it's definitely on purpose because she is using the language of the internet that criticizes her so much to point out how ridiculous it sounds.
You can take Eldest Daughter and listen to it and, you know, consume the experience, but then it's also just the glossary you're using, which you give away, to me at least, at the end of the first verse, about, you know, just dying and trying to be cool, and the idea of how you're using this language to tell this story. Like,
yeah, I think that's a really amazing thing that you're cluing in on. Sometimes I'll use specific vernacular to be satirical. Like, the entire first verse of Eldest Daughter is somebody trying to figure out how to say things that they've read on the whether it be like apathy is hot or memes and trolling. And how do I keep up with how we're supposed to talk in order to describe how much we don't care when really we all care about something, right? So then you go to the pre-chorus and I go more into my own voice of I've been afflicted by a terminal uniqueness. I've been dying just from trying to seem cool. So that's the kind of flip of every way in which I was speaking in this entire first verse was me trying to assimilate to the way culture tells us to be.
Everybody's so punk on the internet. Everything is just trolling and memes. Every hot take is cold as ice. Yeah, that all sounds so ridiculous, you know? And then when we get to the pre-chorus, we get to see Taylor. It's like she takes back the narrative role. I have been afflicted by a terminal uniqueness. And that is one of the most profound lines in the entire song, and maybe even the album. Like, if I could give the album a thesis statement, that would be in the running, because she's always said, like, she struggles with feeling like a person sometimes, and she said that she'll never, like, complain about it because she asked for this, she prayed for this, she worked hard to get to where she is, but it is the reality of her life. She has this terminal, unique experience where she can never live a so-called normal life because anything she ever does is going to be criticized and nobody's going to be happy all the time with everything she does. Then she says, I've been dying just from trying to seem cool. It's like, you're cringing so hard at that first verse because it's like, oh my god, like, she thinks she's so cool and she's like trying to be trendy. Deep down, she's still that insecure little kid that didn't have any friends and everybody thought she was weird and critical of her for wanting to be a singer and not quite fitting in with everybody else. And we can kind of see this common thread throughout her lyrics, that she always kind of has this in the back of her mind, no matter how famous she gets, you know? She says in one of the poems in Reputation, no amount of friends at 25 will fill the empty lunch tables or something like that, and like, that hits, and I feel like this line is so similar to that. And then we get into the chorus, which is another thing that people criticize, and it's like, I think the number one critique of this song is like, I love the sound and the melody, but I hate the lyrics. And it's just such a bummer because I think Taylor knows what she's doing, and I think the reaction is the point. It's so counterintuitive. And so the first line, she says, like, I'm not a bad bitch, and this isn't savage. Everybody thought that was so cringy. It is cringy. That is how the internet sounds. Everybody has so much to say about Taylor. It's like, oh my gosh, she thinks she's so savage for doing this. Oh, she thinks she's like so bad and da-da-da. These are real things that people have said about her. In my interpretation of this chorus, the reason this song is called Eldest Daughter is because no matter like the burden she's had to carry, she always shows up. She never disappears fully. She says, I'm never gonna leave you. I'm never gonna break that vow. I don't know if she's talking to us, the fans, but I think in some ways she has been the eldest daughter of a generation of songwriters, and her music has raised a generation. The impact that it has had on so many people.
Poetry sonnet, you never read up on it. Shame could have learned from it.
I remember I asked her, I was like, you know, I'm a girl on an independent label. And she was like, you have to become undeniable.
For blue eyes. That is Taylor Swift, State of Grace. She's my all-time favorite. She's sort of my hero and the reason I started making music.
She really blazed the trail for a lot of younger artists when it comes to the masters, breaking records, and being kind of like a mentor, uplifting smaller artists. She's always showing up and trying to make the way better for people that are coming after her. I think this song really resonates with the bridge of Like Nothing New and Clara Bow, where people are trying to push her out and that's how she feels, but it's like she can feel sorry for herself but also know and feel good about the fact that it's going to be better for whoever is coming after her. Someone had said this, like, this feels like Taylor's passing the torch, specifically like the song The Life of a Showgirl with Sabrina Carpenter. It is kind of a metaphor, like all these people who are up and coming that cite Taylor as an inspiration. Like, the songwriting is so good and everybody feels so strongly about lyrics these days, and I feel feel like that has a lot to do with Taylor's impact. And then when we get into the second verse of Eldest Daughter, it's like highly relatable because she's talking about how she fell off the trampoline. It's like when you make a mistake, when you fail, you become cautious about the next time you're in a situation like that. And someone pointed out when she says, when I was about 8 or 9, like from 1989, the downfall after that era. And ever since then, she's had very cautious discretion when making decisions, especially when it comes to how something is going to be perceived. And the lyric, when I said I didn't believe in marriage, that was a lie. Oh my god. Like, are you hearing her? It's because of the external pressures and the outside voices that she had to pretend like she didn't believe in marriage. And so I think with this song as well, it's like she's putting up a front, you know, like a lot of eldest daughters do, put on a happy face, a happy mask, suppressing what they truly want inside because it's almost like it's embarrassing, you know, to want something that you can't have. To admit that that's what you actually want and that you can't find it. You have to say, well, I don't want it anyways, you know? And that was a lot of what we heard in Tortured Poets and also in Midnights, where she was like, well, all they want from me is a bride, and I was making my own name. And in this song, she's being very vulnerable in the fact that she was saying, like, it wasn't my decision. I've always wanted to get married, but I had to pretend that I didn't because it wasn't an option at the time. Every eldest daughter, first lamb to the slaughter, very direct in how that is, where it's like the guinea pig. And I feel like maybe in her life and in her career, she felt like that a lot of the time because no one had ever done what she has done with the industry, shifting genres and being so successful at it and being scrutinized so much. Of course, there's other people who have also dealt with that in the past, but I don't know, it's like no one has had this many eyes on them before. And that bridge, can we just say, that is the best bridge. I think somebody commented that this was like the best bridge ever on the album or something. Agree. Like, this bridge gives me the same feeling that I felt when I heard the bridge of You Were in Love for the first time, where it's like a very full circle sentiment. And in You Are in Love, she says, you understand now why they lost their minds and fought the wars and why I spent my whole life trying to put it into words. In that way, she was looking at love from a third perspective and understanding why people go through so much heartbreak to get that. And she didn't even have it yet. And now she is reminiscing on all the happiness and magic that you feel when you're younger. And I feel like this has a lot to do with like her early years. Fearless and Speak Now were filled with wonder, very hopeless romantic, truly believing in love and having hope. And obviously I feel like we lost the plot a little bit in the middle and we lost a little bit of hope. And then when you finally find it, it gave her back that feeling, that nostalgic feeling of being young and having hope again, you know? Because I thought that I'd never find that beautiful, beautiful life that shimmers that innocent light back like when we were young. Like, she never thought she would find it. And the secret message of Mary's song saying, one day I'll find this. I can't deal with it. And then she says, every youngest child felt they were raised up in the wild, but now you're home. She feels like she is home. She is the most her she's ever been. Like, she has been able to be so authentically herself when she's with Travis. And that's why she feels like she is home in her own body, you know, in her own life. So in short, everybody who hates this song is wrong. And maybe you just need to like spend more time with it in the lyrics and just think a little bit deeper. Just dig a little bit deeper. I feel like a lot of these songs we will come back to when we are in that period of our life and appreciate a lot more. And we have seen that in the past. You know, a lot of people are appreciating Red, Reputation way more than they did when they came out. This person says it needed 3 to 5 more songs. I would love more songs. I always want more songs from Taylor Swift. But I think this album was actually very well structured and I really do like it the way that it is. I like that Taylor was so confident in the fact that these are the songs she wanted and that she was done with the album because it all fit into the puzzle that she wanted it to be. Because remember, this is Taylor Swift's album, and if she says that it was finished with 12 tracks, that's just the way it is. The variants are getting a little too much. I agree to an extent, but I think we have to remember that she's not the only person that does this, and I'm not saying that that excuses like the amount of consumerism, because I do feel like like there is just too much stuff being pushed on us in regards to like CDs and merch, and you need to buy this many variants and copies and everything. I will say the thing that sets Taylor apart from other artists that also do this, so she has 8 variants for The Life of a Showgirl for the vinyl. Other artists have upwards of like 15 to 20, and they all have the same cover, and there's nothing specifically special about them other than the color of the vinyl. Now, when we look at Taylor, she put a lot of effort into making them each super unique and valuable in their own way. So different cover art, different posters, different pictures inside, different poems. The colors and the vinyl are so beautiful. Like, she spent so much detail on this, and that's what I love so much about these vinyl. Like, they are my favorite variants of all time, truly, and each of them is so unique and just like so beautiful. It seems like she spent so much time intentionally choosing the cover art and the different colors for the vinyl and the different pressings and the poems and everything. And then when we go to like the deluxe CDs, like I love a trinket, and so I love that, you know, for $15 you got the album, you got like a necklace, a keychain, a bracelet, and you also got those cute photo cards. I just think that was so cute. And also, like, nobody is forcing you to buy anything. This is all of my own accord that I love to collect things. I'm a collector, and so for me, I find it really fun, and it's a hobby. It's an expensive hobby, but that's just what I choose to spend my money on. And some people just don't prioritize physical merch, and that's fine. And I've always said that having merch doesn't make you a better fan, and not having merch doesn't make you any less of a fan. It's there if you want to buy it, and I do think there's a lot of pressure to buy these days, especially just like with media telling you need to get this and you need to have these shoes and this necklace and, you know, the whole thing. But at the end of the day, she's a businesswoman, and she has one of the smartest marketing teams ever. God willing, there's no more variants, because yeah, I can't, it gets to a point, you know? There is a line that I won't cross. Maybe. But I do enjoy how fun she makes it and how much work she puts into the details of the packaging, covers, photo shoot, all of that stuff. It's Reputation 2.0, and it's awesome. I saw another one that said this is Reputation's sister album. I kind of agree with that. I wouldn't necessarily go so far to say that it's Reputation 2.0, but I do feel like the two albums are so linked in aesthetic, in production, in lyrics, in the fact that this album has a little tongue-in-cheek to it, a little cheekiness, if you will. There are some dark moments of this album, and then there's moments of levity, and I feel like Reputation is an album that also has that. And at the end of the day, Reputation was a love album, and this is technically a love album, and so I do find there's a lot of similarities between the two, especially Elizabeth Taylor. Like, the beat drop, like, it is so Reputation. Like, there's certain background vocals and certain little production things that I'm like, ooh, feels just like Reputation.
I cry my eyes by something wicked this way comes. Good thing I like my. They say I did something bad this time. Don't blame me, but we were dancing. Have fun if I couldn't help. Never getting caught. It's a good thing. Losing for the rest of my life.
Giving me glimpses of like, I did something bad, don't blame me. Cancelled is another one that has that like sway, like dark sounding minor chords kind of melody to it. If this album was by anyone else, people wouldn't be hating on it. That is an interesting thing to think about, because, you know, I guess we'll never know, but it would be interesting to see like if Sabrina Carpenter or like Olivia Rodrigo or somebody else put out this album. It would be interesting to see how much the name Taylor Swift connected to this affects people's judgment of it beforehand. And I would guess it does affect people's judgment than if they heard it blindly and thought it was by some different artist. I feel like the bias is pretty strong when it comes to Taylor Swift if people have a strong opinion about her. It gets better with every listen. The songs are also catchy. After the first listen, I didn't like the album, but after 10 listens, it has grown on me. This is something that happens all the time, I think, with Taylor Swift, where maybe at first something sounds so different and something you're not used to, you're not sure if you you like it. And I've had that experience with many albums and songs that I now love so much, maybe some of my favorite songs. For example, when she came out with Shake It Off as the lead single of 1989, I think I had a crisis because I remember sitting there, like I rushed home from school to listen to the live stream, and then like I played the song in the video and I was like, this isn't Taylor Swift. Like I got really scared. But then I listened to it every day for like 4 weeks until the album came out, and I was like, this is a bop, and Shake It Off became one of my favorite Taylor Swift pop bops of all time. So you really have to give it a minute. It truly is the Taylor Swift effect. Like, it's a real thing. The more you listen, the more you like it, and I don't know what chemical thing happens in my brain, but it is real. Like, for example, when I heard Midnights for the first time, it sounded so different than everything else that I was like, I don't know, like I'm a little worried that I'm not gonna like fully like this album, and now it's like in my top 3 probably. Like, I love that album so much. And I did post on my Instagram this morning asking people if their opinions have changed, so we will go through that at the end of the video. Prob my least favorite album. My expectations were high, but I felt the writing wasn't up to par. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. I think because of the production, people kind of think it cheapens the lyrics a little bit, and because some of the lyrics are a little bit more simple, that it's like she's tapping out or something. But when I heard the acoustic versions of some of these songs on those CDs that they put out, the acoustic versions, it really was like, oh, so if this album had folklore production, I think people would like it a lot more because you can really pay attention to the lyrics and it's not being overshadowed by the production. And I think that is something that's going to come back around. And like I said, because people had very specific expectations of this album, you're gonna be disappointed if you have these like very specific expectations. So going into it, I remember thinking like, I need to have 0 expectations and like not have any preconceived notions. I didn't really do any predictions because I didn't want to get it in my brain that it was gonna sound a certain way. I think because this album isn't heartbreakingly poetic, that it isn't as good as the other albums, but like she wasn't gonna put out a Tortured Poets Part 2. Like that just wasn't gonna happen. And it's just so funny because when Tortured Poets came out, people were complaining that it was too poetic, too wordy, hard to understand, like too literary. There's always gonna be someone that says it's too this or not enough this. And then when the new thing comes out, they go back to Tortured Poets and they're like, it was so much better, it was so much more poetic and lyrical and whatever. And I think when Midnights came out, it was very similar. It's like, oh, but like we just love Folklore and Evermore so much. Taylor has always said, I'm never gonna do the same thing twice. She is constantly pushing the envelope, and if she didn't do that in her career, we would not be here right now. If she didn't take the risks that she took, like making 1989, truly believing in herself and betting on herself, surprise dropping Folklore, an album that sounds nothing like anything she had made before. By doing something different, people think it's not as good as the thing before it, but in actuality, it's like she cannot change and evolve and get to a more successful place and a more masterful level in her creation, you know? Haters are allergic to fun. True. My sister is a very much lover stan, and she loves this album. Her favorite song is Me. She said this might be one of her favorite Taylor Swift albums, and she listens to every single song. And honestly, we needed this. We needed an uplift after Tortured Poets. Like, I needed this. I needed to not be at the Black Dog crying my eyes out, you know what I mean? Like, I need to be dancing, and we should be happy about this. Like, if you're boring, just say that. I don't know why people are so upset that Taylor Swift is happy. I get it. Sometimes we need a good breakup song, but like, she's got songs for that. Go listen to Last Kiss, circle back around when things change. And like, I can't necessarily relate to any of these songs because I'm obviously like not like in that same stage of life, but I can appreciate it. And when I was in high school, I was like not relating to any of those songs about being in love and going through like breakups and stuff like that. Did I still love the songs? Yes. Yes, I did. Taylor picked the right single. The Fate of Ophelia is good for casual radio listeners. And I do agree with that. I think like people have a lot of opinions about Taylor's lead singles and whether it was like a good or a bad idea. But this one, so good. Lyrically, production-wise, the music video is is so good. Visually, it's so encapsulated like the essence of this album, the life of a showgirl, because it's both on stage and then there's the off stage moments. There's in the dressing room, in the hotel room, in the hallway, and then finally that last scene of her in the bathtub after the show. It was like a day in the life of a showgirl, you know? The outfits, immaculate. The costume department deserves an award. One of my favorite looks is like the blue outfit. It totally, to me, in my brain is like opalite encapsulated in an outfit. So good. Best lyric, a shattered glass is a lot more sharp. Again, I feel like this is one of the thesis statements of this album where it's like she is so secure in her own life right now and her own happiness that all these experiences shaped her to be finally like so unbothered. The criticism, all that kind of stuff. She's been through the ringer and she's come out on the other side, and now she's like more sharp. She's like more prepared to deal with all of that kind of stuff. She doesn't take shit anymore. I feel like that is another good little thesis statement. A lot of people had this opinion. I love the clean version of the album much better than the explicit version. And I do have to agree to some degree because to me, some of the things in Wood I could do without. I do like the clean version of Wood because I'm just like a little more reserved, you could say. But I think that song is so fun. It's honestly one of my favorite songs. Like the production, the melody, I love how clever it is, like the knocking on the wood. I think that's gotta be like one of my top 3 production choices next to the heartbeat in Wildest Dreams and the pen click in Blank Space. The knock on wood, oh, so good. People think she's being cringe or being too direct or being too much in this song. I will tell you, Wood is not the most explicit song she's ever written. Like, I would have to say Dress, So It Goes, False God. There's so many other songs that are way more direct than this. Guilty as Sin. Like, you're telling me Wood is bad? Carve Your Name Into My Bedpost? You're telling me that Wood is worse than that? I think because she's Taylor Swift, like people don't expect this from her and they're not used to it from her, which is why people probably had that reaction. And like Sabrina Carpenter is singing about all kinds of things right now on her new album and she can get away with it, you know? So why can't Taylor? You know what I mean? Just give Taylor a break, okay? Now, if I had like children, I would definitely just have the clean versions on. I also love how much intention Taylor puts behind the clean lyrics because unlike some other artists where they'll just kind of like bleep it out or like not, I don't know, like not give it like a meaningful difference with the clean lyrics, Taylor really does. And so like in Father Figure, instead of the original lyric, she has because my check's bigger. Although it changes the meaning of the song a little bit, I feel like it's just as hard-hitting. Like Wish List, she says, we tell the world they gotta leave us alone. These songs sound just as good in the clean version as they do in the explicit version. And again, like there are some songs that I prefer the clean version to before. Like I don't mind an F word here and there when it really like adds to the meaning of the song, but when it becomes just like unnecessary or like I don't feel like it's there for a reason, it's kind of like I could take it or leave it. Like on Snow on the Beach, I like the clean version of that song. So I would say like half and half. I could mix the clean and the explicit versions, but I am glad that she like really tries to make the clean versions like flow. Is this her best work? No. Is it my favorite album? No. Am I still listening and enjoying? Yes. Like people forgot that you can have a middle opinion. You don't have to be over here or over here. Like we don't have to have the two extremes. There can be some nuance, some gray area. You can be like, I like this, but I don't really like that. Like everyone is allowed to have an opinion. I think when Taylor is talking about like hot takes cold as ice being just like a mean criticism without a reason, you know, just being mean for the sake of being mean about it. Like if you say like, I just like the sound of folklore better, which is why this isn't quite my cup of tea. Okay. I think she can definitely take an opinion. She can take criticism. She's been doing it for years and she's not super fazed by it. But people are just so eager to rage bait and get their opinions out, and I think it probably just has to do with our media and how easy it is and how everyone feels like their opinion is so important to spread out into the world. And like I just don't feel that strongly about anything. Like I don't ever feel the need to comment something like a hate comment. I'm very much like a silent follower of a lot of people online, and so every now and then, if I feel like I need to comment, it's very much like a positive, like, oh, so cute, oh, love this. But I'm never like, you know what I need to do right now? Comment something super nasty for no reason. I just don't understand what people get out of it, truly. But hey, everybody's allowed to, and we have that freedom to do that, so y'all do you. But this person's correct. Everybody can have different opinions, and nobody is like right, and you can also just have like a very even-keeled opinion about it. What do you think about all the plagiarism comments? This was another hot topic going on because a lot of these songs have little bits and pieces that sound like other songs. For example, Would sounds a lot like the Jackson 5, Want You Back, and people were kind of upset about all of these things, calling them like interpolations that Taylor didn't give credit for. And then specifically for Father Figure, she did give songwriting credit to George Michael, because if she gave him interpolation credit, the label would get the money, I believe, and then because she put him as a songwriter, his estate, meaning his family, is going to be getting the royalties. So I thought that was like a very thoughtful thing for her to do. That song didn't necessarily sample his song, but it was the lyric, I'll be your father figure. People also thought Actually Romantic sounded similar to Teenage Dirtbag, and The Life of a Showgirl had hints that sounded like Cool by the Jonas Brothers. It is interesting to see how she's pulled all these different sounds together, but thankfully our resident music theory master, Charlie Puth, got on TikTok and explained the difference between an interpolation and where's the boundary of this is how many notes in a row you can copy before you have to go somewhere else. So it's not exactly alike, but it is similar.
Lately, there's been a lot of discussion about when two songs have similar melodies. There's only 12 notes in a scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So when you're writing a new song, there are bound to be similarities to an older song. But what you have is what I like to call the 4-note threshold. Let's say, for example, that these are 4 notes of a song that already exists, and these notes here in blue are the notes to your brand new song. If your brand new blue song has the first 4 notes as the red song, that's fine. But if the old song also has an A, and your song also has an A, you're now getting into interpolation territory.
Ed Sheeran said with his whole lawsuit, like, there's only so many chords, there's only so many chord progressions, there's only so many notes on the scale that you can use. Naturally, people are going to start reinventing sounds they've heard before and making them new again. There's just this fine line between the two, and just because one song sounds like another song doesn't necessarily mean they've like plagiarized or like haven't given them credit for it, because on Look What You Made Me Do, she did give credit for the melody of that chorus. But I know a lot of people were upset about this specifically because of the whole Olivia Rodrigo thing, how Taylor has credit on Deja Vu and One Step Forward, Three Steps Back, which, you know, one day we'll know the truth behind all of that, but it must have been over the boundary. I don't know. But that's kind of how you avoid the whole copyright issue, I believe, but I'll have to look more into it. I'm dying for her to perform something from this album. And then another person said she's not going to go on a tour, I fear. And no, I don't believe Taylor is going to be touring in the next year. Possibly we're looking at 2027 if she decides to. I definitely think she will tour again. I don't think she's done forever just because she's getting married. That's another comment people are making. It's like, oh, she's like done. Like she's just gonna get married and like go live on her street with a basketball hoop or whatever. And she said this in an interview. It's like almost insulting because she's like, I'm not just gonna quit my job because I got married. People don't do that. Like other people don't do that. So why are people like asking me if I'm doing that? She's like one of the most successful people ever. Why would she give up her career? It's missing a long-lived 2.0 for the fans. I think she's saving that for a TS13, which who knows when we'll get that. We might get it before the Rep Vault tracks, who knows. I think it's funny that the people hating on it would still fight for tickets to the tour. And I feel like that's the part that I struggle with sometimes, because I understand, like, you can be a casual fan of Taylor Swift and you don't have to like every single song to like go see somebody in concert, but I don't know, I'm taking notes, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're on Twitter like tweeting all these mean things about the album and then I see you in the ticket queue, it's just not gonna sit right with me, you know? I think the key change in Father Figure was one of the best moments of the album. Agree. I think Ruin the Friendship is kind of boring. I also saw people say that Ruin the Friendship should have been track 5 and not track 6. It is interesting that it is track 6, I will say, because usually that song is like uplifting after like a depressing track 5, but this song isn't a track 5 in the same way that the other tracks are. Track 5 is like a very personal, vulnerable song that kind of reveals Taylor's inner thoughts and inner insecurities, whereas this song is a story of a really sad thing that happened, and it also has a lot of nostalgia to it. And also some of her saddest songs are not track 5. Last Kiss, Sad, Beautiful, Tragic, This Is Me Trying. Like, there are some really sad songs that aren't track 5, and I think the anatomy of a track 5 is like a very nuanced emotion. It's anger, it's anxiety, it's sadness, but it's like all of these really complex things getting a peek really inside the raw nerve. So yeah, maybe I don't think this should have been track 5, but it does have that really sad turn in the bridge, and I think this song is very just reminiscing and nostalgic and makes you yearn for a simpler time. To me, it's reminiscent of songs like 15. It's just telling a story, the trials and mistakes that you make when you're growing up. This one is like looking back on that, you know? Anyways, I love that song. It's so sad that you think it's boring. What? I take personal offense to that. Father Figure deserves a music video. I agree. This is one of my favorite songs on the album, and I think it would be so cool if she did a continuation of the Man music video. She put back on the garb, the whole outfit, and cosplaying a man, and like did a continuation. I think that would be really cool. Some people were talking about how the lyrics don't match the showgirl imagery. You don't really know where the showgirl theme fits in the songs, but Taylor was so clear when she announced this album that it was not about being on the stage. It was about being off of the stage. The person behind the curtain. The life of a showgirl. Not the showgirl on stage. It's like the person that is the showgirl. And I think she definitely achieved that with this album. It could be seen as one of her most personal albums yet because of how truthful she is, you know? Like Wish List. Like she's letting us into like all of these thoughts that she's having, her truest desires, her deepest feelings, you know? Okay, so now that I've gone through all of those submissions, I'm gonna go through what people were saying on my Instagram today about if their opinions have changed since the album came out, you know, 4 weeks ago. Let's see. Same opinion, I love that album so much, every song is a masterpiece. So I would say a lot of these also say like, nope, still the same, still love it. This person says, no, it's the same, I have 5 skips for the first time in my life. I need to know which 5 because, what? I love it more. She's never been more free. It shines through in the album. So true. Dislike it even more than I did at first? This is crazy. What? This is interesting. Father Figure used to be my least fave and now it's my number 1. To me, Honey is a song that has climbed in the ranks. Like the more I listen to that song, the more I love it. It's so cute, it's so good, it's so infectious. It gets stuck in my head all the time. I didn't like Opalite on the first few listens, but now Opalite is that girl. So true. I think I kind of like the album less now. Maybe it's just that I'm in my TTPD phase. Honestly real, like it's okay to start spinning Evermore now that it's November. You know, I'm gonna be adding that into the rotation, but I'm still gonna be listening to The Life of a Showgirl. This is funny. It's great, but it's still too short. If there's traffic, I finish the album before getting to work. I would say that is kind of true. Like, you could go through a whole cycle very quickly if you're driving somewhere. Loved it on October 3rd, love it today. I love it more as I feel I have more of a bond with the songs I didn't love. Example, Actually Romantic. This is something that happens. Like, you'll really listen to the songs you first liked a lot, and then you neglect others, but then you come back around to those ones eventually and you decide, actually, I really love this song. Not really, but it's been hard not to be influenced by all the negativity even though I love it. I think that's the hard thing. I feel like other people's opinions can affect our opinions on the album, and so that's why the first weekend it came out, I did not look online. I didn't even know that people didn't like the album for like 3 days. Okay, last submission. I think this is a good one to end on. It's just a matter of time that The Life of a Showgirl will be regarded as endearingly as Reputation and other albums that she has put out. I agree. I think, you know, there will be a revival. She's gonna come out with music videos and more singles for this album, and I think that will also change people's opinions because it'll be playing more often. A lot of the times a visual element will make people enjoy a song more or appreciate it more. The meaning, the lyrics, everything. At least it does for me. And so, you know what? Do not count out Miss Showgirl yet. I think she has a long life ahead of her. It will be interesting to see what comes between now and the end of the year, and also what the next year holds for the Swifties, and if Taylor is going to be doing anything else special, especially because this is going to be her 20th year. Can you believe it? Her 20th anniversary of the debut album will be coming next year, so I'm assuming she's going to be doing something special for that. But anyways, thank you to everybody who submitted your opinions. I really appreciate it and I respect it. And if we're gonna have any discourse in the comments, which I encourage, please keep it nice. Don't say anything nasty. We like to keep it kind here over on this channel. We can definitely disagree, but we need to respect one another and our opinions. Thank you guys so much for being here. Please let me know what other content you guys want to see from me. I will be ranking this album. It will not be an easy task, but I will do it for you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you to Mitt and Lily for sponsoring this video. And don't forget to like this video so I know that you guys like what I'm doing. Subscribe if you're not already, and turn on the post notifications so you know when I post a new upload. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. You don't know the life of a showgirl, babe, and you're never ever gonna.